Today's story is about a nurse whose kindness changed everything. It was evening on a busy city street. People were walking fast, cars were honking, and no one noticed a little girl lying unconscious on the road. A young nurse saw her, ran to her, and gently lifted her head. She checked her pulse and whispered, "Hey, sweetheart, can you hear me?" But the girl didn't move. The nurse quickly took out her phone and called the number she found on the girl's bracelet. "Hello, sir," she said with a trembling voice. "I'm a nurse. Your daughter's lying unconscious on the street." There was silence, then a deep voice replied in shock. "What? My daughter? Where are you?" The nurse said, "Near Fifth Avenue. Please come quickly." A few minutes later, a man in a gray suit ran through the crowd. His eyes were full of fear. He saw his daughter in the nurse's arms and fell to his knees. "Lily, please open your eyes," he cried. The nurse said softly, "She's breathing now. The ambulance is on the way, and she'll be okay." The man looked at the nurse with tears in his eyes and said, "You saved her." "Thank you. I was so busy with my business I forgot what really matters." The nurse smiled gently and said, "Sometimes life stops us to remind us what truly matters." The little girl slowly opened her eyes and whispered, "Daddy." The man hugged her tightly, crying. The nurse looked at them and smiled with relief. If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to my channel, Soul of Kindness. The next morning, the hospital was quiet. The little girl was resting in her bed, her tiny hand wrapped in a white bandage. The nurse stood near the window, watching the sunlight fall gently on the floor. She looked tired but peaceful. The door slowly opened, and the billionaire walked in holding a bouquet of white lilies. His eyes looked softer today, his suit the same, but his heart different. He walked closer and said quietly, "You're the nurse who saved my daughter yesterday." The nurse nodded politely. "Yes, sir. She's much better now. The doctor says she just fainted because of low sugar and exhaustion." He sighed deeply, guilt heavy in his voice. "I didn't even know she was out alone. I was in a meeting when your call came, and for a moment I thought I lost everything." The nurse looked at him for a moment and said, "You didn't lose her. You were just given a second chance. Don't waste it." He sat on the chair beside his daughter, holding her small hand. Tears rolled down his cheeks as he whispered, "I've spent years building my company, but never had time to build memories with her. Yesterday showed me what truly matters." The nurse smiled softly. "Sometimes we save lives, but sometimes life saves us too." The man looked up at her, eyes full of gratitude. "You've given me more than I can ever repay." The nurse shook her head gently. "You don't need to repay kindness, sir. Just pass it on." At that moment, the little girl opened her eyes and smiled weakly. "Daddy, can we go to the park when I get better?" The man's voice broke as he said, "Yes, sweetheart. We'll go anywhere you want." The nurse quietly turned away, hiding the tears in her eyes. Outside the window, the city was busy again. But inside that small hospital room, 3 hearts had changed forever. A few days later, the little girl was discharged from the hospital. The nurse helped her walk out, holding her small hand. The billionaire followed behind them, carrying a small teddy bear. His daughter refused to leave. As they stepped outside, the cool breeze brushed across their faces. The nurse smiled and said softly, "See? You're strong now." The girl grinned. "I want to be a nurse like you when I grow up." The nurse's heart melted. "That's very sweet, dear. You just keep being kind. That's all it takes." The father watched the two of them and felt something inside him change. For the first time in years, he wasn't thinking about meetings or profits, only about the fragile beauty of life. He turned to the nurse and said, "You know, I didn't believe in miracles. Until that day. You were a stranger, yet you treated my child like your own." The nurse looked down for a moment, her voice quiet but full of emotion. "When I was a little girl, I lost my mother on a street like that. No one stopped to help her. That day when I saw your daughter lying there, I couldn't walk away. I just couldn't let it happen again." Tears filled his eyes. He whispered, "I'm so sorry you went through that." She nodded slowly. "It's okay. That pain taught me why I became a nurse, to be the person I needed back then." The billionaire was silent for a moment, then said with deep sincerity, "You didn't just save my daughter. You reminded me of what it means to be human." He looked at his daughter and then back at the nurse. "If you ever need anything at all, I owe you more than I can express." The nurse smiled gently. "All I want is for you to never forget this moment. Be there for her. That's more valuable than anything." "Thank you." The little girl suddenly reached out and hugged the nurse tightly. "I love you, Nurse Anna." The nurse closed her eyes, holding the child close, tears quietly streaming down her cheeks. The father stood there, his heart breaking and healing at the same time, watching the woman who had brought light back into his world. As they parted, the sun began to set again. The same golden light that once witnessed fear, now shining on gratitude, love, and a promise for a better tomorrow. Month passed. The city had moved on, but for the billionaire and his daughter, life had changed completely. He had stopped spending endless nights at the office. Every evening, he took his little girl to the park, just like he had promised. They laughed, played, and watched the sunset together, something he hadn't done in years. One day as they sat on a park bench eating ice cream, the little girl suddenly said, "Daddy, can we visit Nurse Anna? I miss her." He smiled softly. "Of course, sweetheart. Let's go tomorrow." The next morning they arrived at the hospital with flowers and a box of chocolates. But when they asked for Nurse Anna, the receptionist looked sad. She doesn't work here anymore," the receptionist said gently. The father frowned. "Did she leave?" "She was in an accident 2 weeks ago. She's at another hospital now recovering." His heart sank. The little girl's eyes filled with tears. "She got hurt?" Without thinking twice, they rushed to the address the receptionist gave. When they reached the hospital, they saw her, Nurse Anna, sitting in a wheelchair near a window reading a book. Her leg was bandaged, but she smiled when she saw them. The little girl ran to her and hugged her tightly. "You saved me and now you're hurt." Anna smiled softly, her eyes glistening. "Hey, don't cry, little one. I'm fine. Life gives everyone a test. This one was mine." The billionaire stepped forward, his voice trembling. "You've saved my daughter. And now I find you here alone and hurt. You gave us hope when we had none." Anna looked at him with calm eyes. "Hope isn't something you give, sir. It's something you share. When I saved her, I wasn't thinking about myself. I just did what anyone with a heart should do." The man knelt beside her chair and said, "You don't deserve to sit here alone. From today, you're not alone anymore." He paused for a moment and continued, "I've decided to build a new foundation in your name. A free clinic for children and the poor. Because kindness like yours deserves to live on." Anna's eyes widened in shock, then slowly filled with tears. A clinic?" "Yes," he said softly. "The Anna Hope Foundation. It will help thousands just like you helped us." For the first time, Nurse Anna broke down. She covered her face and sobbed quietly, unable to believe what she was hearing. The little girl hugged her again and whispered, "See, you're a hero now." Anna looked up, her face wet with tears, and said, "No, sweetheart. We're all heroes when we choose to care." Outside, the sun broke through the clouds, filling the hospital room with golden light, the same warm glow from the day she saved the little girl. 3 lives, once strangers, now connected forever by one moment of kindness. A year later, the world had changed, not just for them, but for hundreds of people. The Anna Hope Foundation stood proudly in the heart of the city, its white walls glowing in the morning light. Children ran through the gates laughing. Mothers waited in line for free checkups. And nurses moved around with gentle smiles, all because one woman's compassion had lit the spark. Inside the building, Nurse Anna walked slowly with a cane. Her legs still hurt sometimes, but her heart was stronger than ever. Every wall of the clinic had stories, pictures of smiling children, thank you letters, and one framed photo that hung in the center of the main hall. The picture of the day she'd saved the billionaire's daughter. She stopped for a moment and stared at it, lost in thought. The little girl, now healthier and happier than ever, ran up to her holding a handmade card. "Miss Anna, I made this for you." Anna knelt down and opened the card. Inside, it was written in a child's handwriting. "Thank you for saving me. You saved my dad's heart, too." Her eyes filled with tears. She hugged the little girl tightly and said, "You don't know how much that means to me." Just then, the billionaire entered the room. He wasn't wearing his usual business suit, just a simple white shirt, sleeves rolled up, helping arrange donation boxes. He smiled when he saw Anna and said, "You see all this? It started with one phone call from a brave nurse." Anna shook her head with a faint smile. "It didn't start with me. It started with love. I just listened when life whispered." He looked at her for a long moment, his eyes full of gratitude. "You changed my world, Anna, and now you're changing so many others." The little girl held both their hands and said softly, "Can we stay like this forever? Together?" Anna smiled warmly. "Yes, sweetheart. Because kindness never ends. It lives on in every heart it touches." The camera slowly moved outward, showing the foundation building, surrounded by sunlight, children laughing, and the city alive with hope. As the screen faded to black, Anna's voice echoed gently in the background. "No act of kindness is ever small. It creates ripples that reach hearts we'll never know." If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to my channel, Soul of Kindness.